Dem Debate Disaster. That is a topic of today's op-ed live. So Fox News came out with this CNN debate slammed by critics candidates. Damaged the network's credibility even further. As you might already know by now, CNN, the cable news network, it's fake news. All they do is spew out anti-Trump narrative 24/7, 365 days a year. They don't miss a beat. I don't even understand how they can tell their viewers that they are a news media. Well, the Fox News goes like this. CNN's Democratic presidential debate was criticized by everyone from media watchdogs to the candidates themselves following Tuesday's showdown, with complaints ranging from perceived favoritism of Senator Elizabeth Warren to attacks on the specific questions asked by moderators. The Hill media reporter Joe Concha told Fox News that CNN's debate enhanced its already not so respectable reputation. CNN has spewed out so many fake news throughout the years ever since Trump announced his candidacy back in 2015. And I just watch it for comedy at this point. I just watch CNN for comedy, just for laughing. Among all the cable news network, I would say Fox News is the only honest news network out there. MSNBC is a conspiracy theory channel. If you watch their channel talking about the Russia collusion hoax the past couple of years, you might already know by now that they are just completely living in this conspiracy unicorn world. But we don't want to live in that world. We want to live in the real world, what's going on. So among the three cable news networks, I would opine to you that Fox News is the only honest news network out there. I'm not saying that Fox News is perfect. They had a lot of stories wrong too, but I'm saying they don't purposely try to create a fake narrative, like fake news. I mean, I don't see like any fake news that came out from Fox News throughout the past 3-4 years, but I saw a bunch from MSNBC, CNN, not just those two media outlets, but also ABC, NBC, CBS, plus New York Times, Washington Post, and all those famous papers out there. But I'll continue. I digress. The network is under heavy criticism from the left and right today, and rightly so, Concha said. Its pursuit of sizzle over steak and focus on social issues over truly substantiate matters like economy, jobs, opioid crisis, border crisis, all things China has damaged the network's credibility even further. Because they don't want to talk about the economy, jobs, opioid crisis, border crisis, and all that. Then it would be advantage Trump, right? Is it not? Unemployment rate all-time low, economy booming like never before. And the wall is being built. It's all going against the Democrats and the mainstream media's narrative, right? So CNN partnered up with another uber-left media outlet, the New York Times, for the event, which was moderated by CNN's Aaron Burnett and Anderson Cooper and Gray Lady editor Mark Lacey. Gray Lady meaning the New York Times. While viewers complained about several issues with the moderators, a question Cooper asked about Ellen DeGeneres and former President George W. Bush's friendship was perhaps the most lampooned. I can't even believe Anderson Cooper asked this kind of silly question. What's so wrong being a lefty having friends who's on the right side? I have a bunch of liberal friends. Is it legally wrong or morally wrong to have friends like that? It just shows what kind of a channel CNN is, what kind of a person Anderson Cooper is to even ask that kind of silly question in the first place. I don't know, since Anderson Cooper worked in CIA probably asked him to ask that question. I don't know. So 3 hours and no questions tonight about, climate change, housing, or immigration. Julian Castro tweeted, climate change is an existential threat. America has a housing crisis. Children are still in cages at our border, but Ellen. Julian Castro, he's out of his mind. Children still in cages at our border? They were in the cages back in Obama administration time. Where were you at that time? Where were you? How come you didn't criticize Obama for that? Huh? The mainstream media never covered that during the Obama administration when he was separating the families. It started from then, okay? Climate change is an existential threat. I do think there is climate change. But if he wants to emphasize this point, he has to tell China and all these other countries that are not abiding to our standard. I think America is doing its best. He has to ask China to do their best. Look at China. They don't care. They don't care whether climate change is real or not. How come all the burden has to come to America? Is America the only country on earth? No, it doesn't make sense. All they're doing is playing to the narrative of outsourcing and sending all the factories and workers to China, Mexico, etc., or Vietnam. That's why I tell you, please doubt anybody who raise issues like climate change. Oh, it's the most important issue in the world. It is the existential threat currently facing Earth right now. No, I don't believe that at all. I don't think Earth is going to disappear in 12 years like what Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez believed and all the other squad members believe. No, I don't think so. I don't think climate change, I do believe, we should always care about the environment. I'm all for it, but not to the expense of all the factories moving out of America, all the workers, all the jobs moving out of America and going to China or all these other countries. No, not to the expense of that. China, India, all the other countries that are not behaving properly regarding the environment. I do think that we do need clean water and clean air. But we have to know which countries we should attack upon that. America has suffered already a lot. We lost a lot of jobs before, right? Now all the jobs are pouring back. Manufacturing, 600,000 plus have came back ever since Trump became president, even though the mainstream media do not want to cover that. But we can't sacrifice everything, okay? We're playing into China's hands if we keep on doing that. So Senator Kamala Harris also took to Twitter to criticize the moderators, noting there weren't questions about climate change, LGBTQ rights, or immigration. These issues are too important to ignore, Harris wrote. While Castro and Harris used social media, representative, Hawaii representative, Tulsi Gabbard, I think I think they're all nut jobs and lunatics, but among all of them, I think Tulsi Gabbard is the most normal, most prudent candidate out there among the Democratic side. I think she's respectable. I can respect her. Tulsi Gabbard slammed CNN and the New York Times directly from the debate stage over what she described as smears against her on foreign policy. This is what she said during the debate. The New York Times and CNN have also smeared veterans like myself for calling for an end to this regime change war. Just 2 days ago, the New York Times put out an article saying that I'm a Russian agent and an Assad apologist and all these different smears. This morning, a CNN commentator said on national television that I'm an asset of Russia. Completely despicable. It is despicable. It is despicable. It's ridiculous. Whoever says let's pull out the troops from Syria, they're all Russian agents, according to the New York Times and CNN. That's why these media outlets are called deep state media. They're always playing to the elite or the neocons, the establishment. It's just ridiculous. It's just crazy. How can you be called a Russian agent just because you're so against being in Syria? I'm against it. I'm against being in Syria. We got to pull our troops out of there. Look at all the soldiers who lost their lives, lost their limbs, lost their arms, lost their legs. It's not. I believe it's not worth it. It really isn't. And America has sacrificed too much. Afghanistan war, it's been going on 18 years. Iraq. There are so many wars that America needlessly have been involved. And all the successes that America has achieved, even in Iraq, turned to failure during the Obama administration, right? Which is a shame. So DePaul University professor and media critic Jeffrey McCall said the major flaw was that moderators allowed Senator Elizabeth Warren to dominate the proceedings. The time imbalance was so obvious and quite unfair to Gabbard and the others. That Warren is now or at the top of recent polls is no excuse for allowing such an imbalance. They gave too much airtime to Elizabeth Warren. That's what he's trying to say. A candidate forum is supposed to give all candidates a fair opportunity to engage the dialogue, and that absolutely did not happen. The debate moderators apparently don't own stopwatches. Yeah, I mean, Gabbard received less time. I know that CNN, MSNBC, New York Times, Washington Post, they all worry about Gabbard because after the first, second, and third debate, I think she was the most searched candidate out there in Google and even in on Twitter, one of the most. Along with Andrew Yang, in the Drudge Report, she came out as a winner in a landslide. She won like 34%. When Drudge Report asked who won the debate, she was way ahead among the candidates. Number 2 was Andrew Yang, and he was at around 18 to 20%. So I do believe those two are the better ones among the 12 candidates that were standing there yesterday. So this is what he said. What Newsbusters managing editor Curtis Houck said. It was no surprise that CNN began with almost 20 minutes talking about impeachment and defending the Bidens, seeing as how CNN's been obsessed with impeachment for at least 3 years now. It's ridiculous, right? You know what? The whole impeachment thing, Op-Ed Live, I told you, I told our viewers and readers that this is nothing but a hoax. This impeachment thing is nothing but a hoax, a unicorn thing, a non-issue that they fabricated to make it look like a real issue. And so many media outlets, Korean media outlets, Japanese media outlets, Chinese media outlets, they just blindly translate all these ridiculous fake news articles. It's affecting, this is having such a deleterious effect to the nations all around the world, not just the United States. I told you, this impeachment thing, they're never going to hold a vote. So it's dead, which means this impeachment thing is dead. The Russia collusion, dead. Obstruction of justice, dead. Ukraine scandal, it's dead too. But it's not dead on the other side, the Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, Ukraine issue, that's alive. That's big, right? It's still going on, and I think it will be a huge issue that will bring down Joe Biden. I think it's going to bring down, he's already going down because of this issue. So that's why, Elizabeth Warren is going up. Joe Biden is going down. Bernie Sanders, I think he's going to get a little bit of a bump. This Saturday, and Alexandria uber-left, a far-left lunatic, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and the squad members, I think 3 members of the 4 squad members are going to endorse Bernie Sanders, which is not surprising because Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, she used to work for Bernie Sanders' presidential campaign back in 2016. So that's a given. So I don't think, probably it might be a good thing for Elizabeth Warren. She wants to look a little bit more moderate. It seems like she might seal her position as a number 1 candidate right now. It seems to be that way. And I think she doesn't want to be looked upon as a far left candidate so early in this stage. That's just my opinion on that. But for right now, I think Bernie Sanders, he's alive and well. I mean, people said that he had a heart attack. He had to really show up. He had to do a really magnificent debate. And I think he did an okay job. He did a good job yesterday, so he survived. Well, anyway, Speaker Nancy Pelosi said today she will not stage a vote on the House floor, yesterday, that she will not stage a vote on the House floor to officially launch an impeachment inquiry into President Trump, which means the impeachment investigation hoax is dead. It was dead on arrival, okay? The decision came after Democratic leaders returning to Washington following a 2-week recess had reached out to members of their diverse caucus to the party support for such a vote. After back-to-back meetings with party leaders and then the full caucus, Pelosi announced that no such vote would take place. Democratic aides emphasized, however, that the process remains fluid and that Pelosi may reverse course and stage such a vote at any point in the future. This is what Pelosi said. There's no requirement that we have a vote, and so at this time we will not be having a vote. Which means they didn't have anything in the first place, okay? The minority has been shut out in the process, the Republicans in the House side, right? So this whole thing was a hoax from the beginning. Pelosi for months has resisted even a mention of impeachment. This is coming out from the Hill. fearing the potential political harm the issue could do to moderate Democrats facing tough re-election next year. Because people don't want this kind of shenanigans going on. People don't want this kind of criminal behavior. This is criminal behavior in my eyes. I mean, they just fabricate stuff. You know. And what happened to the whistleblower? Let him come out in the public. He doesn't want to, right? He doesn't want to. He's exposed as being a liar, right? Trump released all the transcripts, so it was over. That just killed the entire impeachment narrative. So I don't know which angle or which way the deep state is going to go from here on out. But the impeachment thing, it seems to be over, and a lot of congressmen and congresswomen on the Democratic side who was facing re-election in battlegrounds in like Trump country, they were really worried. They're really worried about this impeachment thing. Even though it might be dead right now, they're still worried that that the constituents they have are still angry towards the Democratic Party to even initiate the impeachment process. So they didn't hold a vote, which means that the White House, the Republicans, they don't need to accept any kind of investigation. They don't have to accept subpoenas. They don't have to follow anything. This pretty much killed everything that the Democrats had. You know. So Nancy Pelosi fell into her own party's trap, like the far left loons like Ocasio-Cortez, right? She was saying the biggest scandal is how come the Democrats are not having an investigation about impeachment. It's ridiculous. The whole thing is just nothing but a hoax. You know, this is really ridiculous. It's sad. I've never seen anything like this. You know, I have been watching American politics very closely since the 90s. I've never seen anything this crazy. For me to just even comment on this kind of ridiculous, crazy, lunatic things is tragic. It's sad. It is sad. You know, this is how far off the Democrats and the mainstream media have gone to. You know, they're falling. I think they have lost so many grounds ever since Trump became president because of their fake news. Many people, you know, I have a lot of Democrat friends. They tell me this is crazy. They don't watch CNN and MSNBC. A lot of them. They started not to watch it because they can't believe it. You know, they say the impeachment thing is going to happen. It's not happening. The Russia collusion thing is real. It's not. So every media critic, they're criticizing how CNN moderated their debate. Media Research Center Vice President Dan Gaynor told Fox News that CNN wouldn't be a neutral referee because of its own bias, and that was before the debate even started, and the moderators didn't do anything to change his mind. So this impeachment thing, they're not going to hold a vote, but how come it's such a big issue, right? Why do they have to spend so much time talking about impeachment? You know, it's just ridiculous. By the way, Warren spoke for over 22 minutes, followed by Biden 16 plus minutes, while Tulsi Gabbard only spoke for roughly 8 minutes. So disparity you can see right there. It's just, you know, CNN and the Times were also heavily criticized for overlooking China, which has been a focal point of the recent news cycle. China made headlines in recent weeks between its trade war with the United States and the growing tensions between the communist nation and the NBA. They didn't even mention about this issue too, but the moderators didn't seem to care what 2020 candidates thought about the situation. Because Trump is winning against China, right? That's why they don't even want to raise this issue. And how about the NBA issue? What LeBron James said? What Daryl Morey, Houston Rockets general manager Daryl Morey said? So that should have been a big issue, right? He was dominating the news waves. He was on the top news on CNN too. Okay. There hasn't been one question about China in this entire 3-hour debate. It is shameful. The View co-host Meghan McCain tweeted. It was just, you know, I think I'll just stop here about the debates. Anyway, CNN just announced the winners, according to them: Pete Buttigieg, Andrew Yang, Bernie Sanders. Losers, one of the losers was Elizabeth Warren. Many people put her on the loser column. I think some outlets put her on the winners column, but I see a lot of the media outlets putting her on the loser column because I think this was the first time that she has been attacked to this extent. I think she wasn't used to this. And you could see that. You could see it from her facial expression. Joe Biden, I think he did not do well. I know some media try to, say, oh, he really did well. They're trying to cover for him because after this Ukraine scandal. No. The reality is he really didn't shine that much. I know the mainstream media wants to cover for him and say that CNN surprisingly didn't, that he did really well. No, I don't think he really did that well. I don't think he can really debate against Trump with that kind of skill. So let's move on and check out some headlines and some Twitter feeds. So this is Ivanka Trump, the force is strong in my family. She tweeted this. She's wearing a beautiful dress there with her husband, Jared Kushner, and her 3 kids. This was tweeted on September 28th of 2019. Now let's move on to the next page. And then James Comey last week tweeted a very, very fishy tweet. And I think he was talking about Ivanka Trump's tweet, the picture. Okay, James Comey on October 13th, those are my 7-year-old godson's Star Wars toys. We promised not to take them down, and they are awesome anyway. Why is he even talking about 7-year-old godson's Star Wars toys? Because if you look at his Twitter feed, this just comes out of the blue. Is he threatening the Trump family? Like a spooky guy that James Comey is, since he's the one who brought all the Robert Mueller special counsel thing, and he's the one who wiretapped Trump, pretty much, Trump campaign. I look at that as a threat. Let's move on to the next page. This Maggie Haberman, there is no smoking on this train. If you are found smoking, we'll assume you're on fire and take the appropriate action, says the Amtrak conductor. Maggie Haberman tweets sometimes every once in a while these kind of coded words. I don't know what she means by this. I don't think she reported about Amtrak. This is some crazy stuff. It's like she's threatening the people who goes against the mainstream narrative or the deep state and who goes along with Trump. I mean, that's how I see it. I don't know. If you have any other analysis regarding this, please comment on this. Okay, let's move on to the next page. Well, Donald Trump, just out, median household income is at the highest point ever, ever, ever. How about saying it this way? In the history of our country, also more people working today in the USA than at any time in history. Tough numbers for the radical left Democrats to beat. Impeach the president? Okay, let's move on. Hunter Biden was really bad on Good Morning America. He came out on an interview on Sunday, Good Morning, I believe it was Sunday. Now Sleepy Joe has real problems. Reminds me of Crooked Hillary and her 33,000 deleted emails, not recoverable. Yeah, it does, right? It's the same thing over again. Hillary and her crooked emails, and now it's Hunter Biden and his problems with Ukraine and China. And now it seems like there's another country named Romania. Let's see what happens with that. Let's move on to the next page. A big scandal, so this is fake news, about fake news. A big scandal at ABC News. They got caught using really gruesome fake footage of the Turks bombing in Syria. A real disgrace. Tomorrow they will ask softball questions to sleepy Joe Biden's son, Hunter. Like, why did Ukraine and China pay you millions when you knew nothing? Payoffs. So this was tweeted on October 14th. The interview already happened, yes, and it was indeed softball questions coming out of that ABC reporter, female reporter's mouth. It was a shame. It was just, there was no follow-up questions, no, incisive, no insightful questions or anything like that. No sharp questions whatsoever. Okay, let's go on to the next page. Okay, Hunter Biden sits down for exclusive interview with ABC News. He had to because Trump pressured him, right? And also the whistleblower. They're not all coming out, right? I mean, Hunter Biden, with those softball questions, and the whistleblower doesn't want to even come out in public anymore. Okay, let's go on to the next page. I would much rather focus on our southern border which abuts and is part of the United States of America. And by the way, numbers are way down and the wall is being built. Let's go on to the next page. Wow, Hunter Biden is being forced to leave a Chinese company, which he did. Now watch the fake news wrap their greasy and very protective arms around him. Only softball questions of him, please. So he got out of the Chinese company, Hunter Biden. If Trump didn't raise this issue, I think he would have still been there, right? And even Hunter Biden admitted it was politically a wrong move. Politically, I think it's ethically a wrong move. And he said he did not get a single penny from the deal with China. Really? His private equity firm received $1.5 billion from the Chinese. Well, isn't that, it's just ridiculous. He didn't receive a penny, he received 1.5 bill. Okay, let's move on to the next page. Adam Schiff now doesn't seem to want the whistleblower to testify. No, must testify to explain why he got my Ukraine conversation so wrong. So wrong, right? Not even close. Did Schiff tell him to do that? We must determine the whistleblower's identity to determine why this was done to the United States. Let's move on to the next page. Trump tweets. Democrats' game was foiled when we caught Schiff fraudulently making up my Ukraine conversation when I released the exact conversation transcript, and when Ukrainian president and the foreign minister said there was no pressure. Very normal talk, a total impeachment scam. So the deep state and the Democrats, the mainstream media, they were so surprised. They were caught off guard when Trump released the conversation transcript. Okay, let's move on to the next page. Okay, look at this. Charlie Kirk, net worth. Before running for president, Trump family, 4.5 bill, Obama, 3 mil, Clinton, 480,000. Today, Trump family, it shrinked to 3 bill. Obama, 40 mil. Can you believe that? 3 million and jump out of the blue after 8 years to 40 mil. Clinton, 100 mil. But Trump is a guy trying to steal our money, huh? That's what he's trying to say. Okay, let's move on to the next page. Democrats are claiming Donald Trump is the most corrupt president ever to occupy the White House, right? Really? What about Joe Biden selling out our country to China? Or Barack Obama sending pallets of cash to Iran? You know that Obama gave $1.5 billion to Iran in cash, right? In 3 separate planes. Or Bill Clinton lying under oath and actually being impeached. You guys remember that, right? Back in the 90s, he did actually get impeached. Okay, let's move on to the next page. LeBron James rips Daryl Morey, says Morey was uneducated, says we do have freedom of speech, but there can be a lot of negatives that come with that too. How hypocritical for LeBron James to say that, huh? So Steve Cortez came out with a tweet, LeBron James is a complete coward and hypocrite. He readily assailed our president to Trump-hating U.S. media, including ESPN, but excuses the tyranny of the Chinese Communist Party and criticizes NBA figures who stand up for the rights of the Hong Kong protesters. It's just ridiculous what LeBron James is doing, right? It's just mind-boggling. When he was criticizing Trump, being so pro-Hillary, and now, going to campaigns and all that and criticizing Trump whenever he opened his mouth. But now you're not supposed to talk about politics, right? When it comes to China, the communist China, the dictatorship of China, right? When Xi Jinping announced he's president for life, right? We're not supposed to talk about it, okay? I think he should have framed it in a better manner, He had 11 days to think about this, and this is all he could come up with. I can understand the business point and the economic point of it, but you can't say sometimes, you can't be hypocritical like how LeBron James has been throughout his years of talking about politics. Okay, let's move on to the next page. Breaking: NBA star LeBron James reportedly pressured the NBA to punish the Rockets general manager Daryl Morey after he tweeted pro-freedom support for Hong Kong. Really? Because your money is getting hurt now? Now you're taking this stance? I just don't, I think these sports athletes, he even said, if you're not educated, you're not even supposed to talk about it. Then I think that word that he spewed out should be directed towards him. Because I don't think he's educated about politics. I don't think he knows about Peter Strzok, Lisa Page, and all those things. FISA court. Learn about those things before you open your mouth about American politics. Let's move on to the next page. Okay, CNN opens Dem Debate with huge focus on impeachment. It's no surprise. A whistleblower, did you guys get this? A whistleblower inside CNN just revealed that CNN President Jeff Zucker has a personal vendetta against President Trump and is obsessed with pushing for impeachment. Let's move on to the next page. Wow, Sarah Carter, Lisa Mae Crowley is tweeting, on Sarah Carter's tweet. California Governor Gavin Newsom signs bill requiring universities to offer abortion services. Wow. Okay, let's go to the next page. Tom Fitton, Judicial Watch now has 3 lawsuits on Biden scandal tied to Ukraine and China. Judicial Watch is doing a marvelous job to find the truth. The coup against real Donald Trump, at real Donald Trump, won't stop our investigations. Right on. Okay, let's move on to the next page. Tonight's 2020 Dem Debate is in Westerville, Ohio. Let's take a look at how Ohio has thrived since at real Donald Trump was elected. 93,600 jobs has been created. Unemployment has decreased from 5.2% to 4.1%. The average tax cut was $1,476. 157,000 Ohioans are off food stamps. Isn't that great news? Let's move on to the next page. Okay, Bill Gates met with Jeffrey Epstein many times despite his past. Bill Gates said he wasn't that close with Jeffrey Epstein, but seems like he was very close. And there's more story to this. I'll tell you that on our next Op-Ed Live episode. Do we have more page? Let's move on to the next page. Okay. Well, that's our show for today. Our show is not about left or right. It's about right or wrong. To stay up to date with our latest videos, make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel by clicking subscribe. Thanks for tuning in.